We are looking at question 3 of our free response 1 assignment. So we have two production possibility frontiers or curves that are linear. And this really isn't part of the question, but it is important for you to know that when these curves are linear and not concave, what does that mean in terms of opportunity cost? It's constant. The slope is constant. Mathematically, the opportunity cost is represented by the slope of the curve. So in this case, since the slopes are constant, the opportunity cost are constant. Also, we can make another assumption. We can say that the labor or the factors of production in these countries are not specialized, since as you produce more cars or more tractors and less cars or less tractors, the opportunity costs don't change, which tells us that their means of production are not specialized between cars and tractors. It's not part of this question, but you certainly could be asked a question about that. Okay, so what do we have? We have the country Atlantis. They can produce a maximum of 30 cars if they put all their resources into cars, or 10 tractors if they put all their resources into tractors, or any combination in between, right, on the line MN, or the curve MN. The curve PQ is Xanadu, which can produce a maximum of 20 cars or 40 tractors, or any combination in between along the curve PQ. So the first question is, which of these two countries has the absolute advantage in the production of tractors? Well, that's easy, right? Who can produce the most, period? And that is Xanadu. They can produce, if they put all their resources into producing tractors, they can produce more. 40 is more than 10, right? So Xanadu has the absolute advantage in the production of tractors, because if they put all their resources into tractors, they're able to produce 4 times as many as Atlantis. And you can answer it anyway, something like that. Just explain that, right? Very obvious. Okay. B, which country has the comparative advantage in the production of cars? Using the concept of opportunity cost, explain how you determine your answer. Yes, opportunity cost is the way you determine comparative advantage. So, what I did, because I need to see a visual, is I actually computed the opportunity cost for both Xanadu and Atlantis in producing both cars and tractors. So Xanadu, one car, which is this curve right here, right? One car cost 2 tractors, 1 to 2, 2 to 4, 1 to 2, right? They can produce twice as many tractors as they can cars, so one car is going to, the opportunity cost of producing one car for Xanadu is going to cost 2 tractors. It's just a ratio, 1 to 2. And going the other way, it's one tractor is going to cost 1/2, right? 20 is 1/2 of 40. So one tractor, since they can produce 40 in the same time it takes to produce 20 cars, then one tractor is going to cost them 1/2 of a car. Okay? Because for every one tractor, they produce 1/2 cars, right? Because 1 times 40. You see it. I'm going on and on here. Over-explaining, right? Okay. Atlantis. One car cost a third of a tractor. They can produce 1/3 of a tractor in the time and effort it takes to produce one car, and the opposite, or the reciprocal, of the ratio, is one tractor for Atlantis costs 3 cars. So once we figure that out, it's very easy to see who has the comparative advantage. Whoever has the lowest opportunity cost for each one of these. So if one car cost Xanadu 2 tractors, and one car only cost Atlantis 1/3 of a tractor, it's very obvious to see that Atlantis has the comparative advantage in producing cars. And then the opposite is true. One thing we know, the way this theory or this concept works, is one country cannot have the comparative advantage in both. It is possible for one country to have the absolute advantage in both products or goods, but not the comparative advantage. So if Xanadu has the actually, what did I say? I should have said that. I think I said, but I'll say it again. Atlantis has the comparative advantage in producing cars because they're cheaper, right? It only cost Atlantis 1/3 of a tractor. Now, Xanadu has the comparative advantage in producing tractors because a tractor costs Xanadu only 1/2 of a car, and a tractor costs Atlantis 3 cars. So Xanadu has the comparative advantage in producing tractors. Okay, I hope I didn't say that backwards at some point, but that is how it is, what I just said. Okay, now the next question is, let's go back to our question. So we've already determined who has the comparative advantage in cars, and we also looked at tractors. I'm not sure they're even asking you that, okay, and why. So if the two countries specialize in what they're best at, and they trade with each other, which countries will import cars? Import cars. Well, that's going to be the country that does not have the comparative advantage. They're going to buy cars from the country that does have the comparative advantage. So going back to our cost here, then since Atlantis right here has the comparative advantage in producing cars, Atlantis is going to export cars to Xanadu, right? Cars cost Xanadu more to tractors, which is much more than a third. So they're going to import. Xanadu is going to import cars from Atlantis. Now, even if you don't do this, okay, I just wanted you to think about something else. If you look at these curves, and we've said that Atlantis has the comparative advantage in producing cars. Okay, so this is Atlantis, right? Let's just make this, you know what, let's do something here so it's easier. So I've got Atlantis in green. So let me do this, just so it makes it a little bit easier. And let's make that so we really are clear in what we're looking at here. Okay, so this is Atlantis, and we're saying they have the comparative advantage in producing cars. Well, they can produce 30 cars and only 10 tractors. So you don't even, you can really see it without going through all this. This is helpful. This you might have to if it's confusing, but this is pretty obvious. They can produce 3 times as many cars as they can tractors, Xanadu can only produce half as many cars as they can Attractor, so it's pretty much a no-brainer that Atlantis should be producing cars and selling them to Xanadu. Okay, so I mean, I just want to, a lot of times these are questions we have a tendency to make them more complicated than they really are. But it is, though, important to understand and explain how you know for sure this is true by calculating opportunity cost. Okay, very important. Okay, now lastly, if the terms of trade are such that one car can be exchanged for one tractor, explain how Atlantis will benefit from such a trade. Well, what we can do is sort of show that, and I've done it over here, is let me grab all this and sort of scoot it down. Actually, you know what? Let me grab this and scoot it up. Easier, right? So I'm going to compare without trade cost with trade cost. So if we're trading one-to-one, then it's pretty obvious that for both countries, one car is going to cost one tractor, one tractor is going to cost one car. For both countries, if they trade, because we've been told that the terms of trade are one-to-one. So they're trading one for the other. So if that's the case, it's very easy to see here where the advantage is, right? So for Xanadu, if they don't trade at all, one car costs two tractors. So it's very easy to see that if they do trade, a car is half as expensive. It only costs one, right? So they should want to trade, and they should want to trade a tractor for a car, right? One car costs one. Instead of having to trade with themselves, instead of going, when they're on their own, one car is going to cost them two. When they want to buy a car from Atlantis that has the comparative advantage in cars, we already said that, right? Then it only costs them one. Okay, but the question though, and I know I'm delaying this, is what is the advantage for Atlantis, and how do you know? Well, if Atlantis For Atlantis, one tractor costs 3 cars if they don't trade at all. But if they do trade, one tractor only costs 1 car. So they can sell 1 car to Xanadu and get their tractor for just 1 car. So they're really going to have a big advantage from a trading, because now a tractor now costs a third of what it did before a trade. They can buy a tractor from Xanadu, which has the absolute, it has that too, but it has the absolute and comparative advantage in producing tractors. So they can buy a tractor from Xanadu, and it's only going to cost them 1 car instead of the 3 that it cost when they don't trade at all. So that's how you would analyze this question. You can even write this out or just explain it in a narrative. But it's very important to understand how to calculate opportunity cost, and then how to compare the cost without a trade with whatever the cost is, with whatever the terms of a trade are, which are very clearly defined in this particular question. Okay, so that takes care of the free response 1 assignment. Make sure that you write and draw your answers out on lined paper very neatly, scan them and save them as a PDF file, and submit them on your answers on Blackboard. As I showed you in the video, let me jump back over here. I've got it up in this video right here, how to submit your free response assignments. That will tell you how to do this. Okay.